Yes, it is possible to capture facial tracking with your Android phone and your PC using Blender 2.9 and iFacialMocap version 1.09 from the developer's website. Alright, let me show you how in the next video. Okay, what you're seeing right here, it's the connection with the iFacialMocap panel using Blender 2.9x. Okay, 293, and the version that I have for iFacialMocap software, it's the version 1.09, 1.00, that's 009 on Blender 2.9x. And I honestly had to review the firewall settings, allowing the public UDP packages for this to work. And this is something that you might not be aware of, but if you come here into the inbound rules, you're going to notice that you have the iFacialMocap, in this case, installed, and it needs to have, let's see, here we go, and it needs to have all of the public UDP packages, okay, with allow the connections for the UDP public packages. So you're going to have UDP and TCP for public, okay, and that's one thing. And the very first time that you can save those properties, so the inbound rules, it's very important to have that. And after that, you need to type in your phone's IP address. You're going to get that from MeowFace interface. So this is what you're going to be looking at. This IP that you have right here, it's the one that you need to plug and connect on your iPhone's IP address right here. Okay, so once you do that, you're going to be able to make this work. Now, this specific model, it's in the iFacialMocap, iFacial Connect scripts, Blender 2.9x, iFacialMocap test object. Now, the test object, this took me a while to figure. The test object is called neutral, but you can see here that in the actual properties of the data block, it's called Untitled 364. This is, you can see that neutral, it's the name of this object, and you should use that same name for this object, which contains the blend shapes right there, and put it right here. After that, you're going to click here on connect to Blender. So once you're in Blender, once you run this, once you set the UDP thing, firewall stuff, permissions, you're going to drag and drop this test file and drop it here in the viewport. Blender will open this thing. Then you're going to come into the iFacialMocap panel, click on waiting for connection, and then come into the application over here, and then click connect to Blender. And once you do that, you're going to see your Android being used to communicate with this application inside Blender. This is Blender 2.9x. Please don't forget, this is what's working for me. I'm going to be trying 293.9. I'm going to be trying this on Blender 3, but it's most likely that some modifications will need to be adjusted. But anyways, this is just perfect. Look at this. I'm exaggerating all of my factions, and you can actually see that all that I'm doing is being reflected on the application here. So if you have any questions, please type them in the comment section down below, because this is a very much needed tutorial for all of the Android users and Blender users as well. Please make sure you have everything in this checklist and check the links in the description below. Let's start. Okay, so you want to come here to iFacialMocap.com, tutorials, Blender section. You need to first download the application, so download the application for PC. And in here, the author has published a video which shows you how to work with this specific face, as I mentioned before. and also he goes to the setup right here. But anyways, we're going to do it on video because I have not seen this done on video. So if you click there on download, you're going to see this window, version 1.15. The one that I used was a previous version, so you need to go to previous version. If you click there, which is by the way misnamed, you need to go down here into version 1.09. This is the one that actually got me working my tests on the test captures on Blender 2.9x. So don't forget, just click down here, version 1.14. This will take you to the previous version, the older versions, and search for 109. In my case, I am Windows 64-bit, so I'm going to click there. Then I'm going to download it from the Google Drive that they give us. So download anyways, and it's going to download. You can then execute it, install it, obviously make a desktop shortcut, and it will install. Now please bear in mind that if you want to use the latest iFacialMocap, you must necessarily use an iPhone. Okay, the latest iFacialMocap 1.15, it's only going to work with an iPhone, not an Android. We're doing this just for Android, so bear that in mind. It's version 1.09. So I'm going to launch iFacialMocap because we want to do some things with this application. So upon launching, you're going to get this dialog, which is a minimized interface of the application. And just like I showed you before, you need to put your iPhone IP address in the case that you're using the latest version. But since we are using Android, you're going to type your Android IP address right here. This IP address is going to be given to you by the MeowFace application, which we previously covered. So let's talk about the Blender side of things. Once this application, the iFacialMocap 2 software application, is running, you need to do two things. Open Advanced Settings, and in Open Advanced Settings, switch from 3.x to 2.9x, because this is the version that we're going to be using. Also, you can check here on the version info that the one that I'm using is 1.09. This is good, this is great. This is the one that it's going to be working with 293.9, the latest release for Blender 293. And if you click here on the add-on, it will take you to the installation folder. Well, where you will see two files. One is the add-on itself, and the other one is the demo file. So we're going to copy this entire path, and now we're going to edit preferences. We're going to install that add-on. So I'm going to click here on add-ons, install, paste that path, install the add-on, and immediately you can check it here. I'll save preferences, and when you press N, you can come down here where it says iFacialMocap, and you can see it's been installed. Now the second part, it's pretty easy. You just drag and drop this into your scene. And once you do that, we will see a couple of things. We will see the browser for the assets over here. You need to switch that to view layer, and in our case we can see the contents. If you click this object, okay, you're going to notice that the name is neutral. If you press period, you're going to see that that mesh name is called neutral. So when you click here on the mesh properties, object data properties, actually, you're going to see down here in the shape keys that it's got all of your blend shapes necessary for the tracking, which are the 52 ARKit shapes necessary for your model to work with. Now, I am doing a 33 video series for Faceit. Faceit is another add-on that helps you to generate all of these required 52 ARKit blend shapes, and the Faceit add-on will help you achieve all of this basically under 5 minutes. It's just marvelous. Anyways, let's continue. We're going to come back into this panel. There are three things that I need you to do. The first thing is obviously open this file. The second one was to install the add-on. And now the third and last thing that I need you to do is to open the panel, iFacialMocap, waiting for connection, switch there, and now it's going to switch to quit waiting because right now it's waiting, and now click here to connect to Blender. This is Blender 2.9x. Please don't forget, this is what's working for me, and I hope that this also works for you. So now let's talk about transmitting from the iPhone to the PC using the FaceMocap to VMC protocol that Suvidriel developed. FaceMocap to VMC also works with MeowFace. The next step will involve testing the application MeowFace to see if it's transmitting to your PC, and for that you will need your Android connected to a Wi-Fi in the same network that your PC is. But first of all, just type suvidriel.com. Please do it, because you will not get any referrals from Google if you will not put it this way. Suvidriel.com does not appear when you just type Suvidriel, because whatever. Just click there, and down here you will see the FaceMocap to VMC. Okay, this is the application that Suvidriel uses to communicate with the Android phone to, for example, stream to VCFace. So this is the one that we're going to be using. So click there, FaceMocap to VMC 02.1. We're going to be running this once it's downloaded. The next thing I need you to do is to type Google Play MeowFace. That's the actual application that we will install in our Android. Don't mind this old guy, this is really bad screen captures for this, but anyways, you need to install this on your Android phone, so don't forget that, just install that. So once you download all of that, unpack it and then run FaceMocap to VMC.exe. This has been created in Unity. And these cryptic numbers that you see here, you're going to get them from the application itself. So if you're in the application, and this is very important. Okay, so let's pretend that my hand is my face, okay? You're not going to see anything because you need to have your face right here. So your Android phone is transmitting this, whatever movements you do with your face. And all of these shapes down here are going to be calibrated with whatever faction you do, with whatever expression you do. Like, for example, let's go to something like cheek puff, okay? So you can see right here that cheek puff has a weight of 1 and a max of 1. You can overextend this, or you can lower it down if it's too exaggerated for your model. But right now this will not indicate anything, just as a sound wave is being read by an equalizer, and it will not mean anything unless you listen to the actual music. So how do we do that? We need to see what is going on with the SuvidrielMocap thing application. And in my case, I can see that my address is this one right here, so I'm going to be typing just that, 168. And she specifically mentioned that you should not be doing any alterations in your Android application, that this basically will drive your Android application, so just don't do that. Now, send VMC protocol to IP. I have set it to port 49983, which is the port that controls Blender with the iFacialMocap panel. Okay, so that's like this entire interface. It's going to be driven by that port. That is why we pointed there to be driven by that. Now, there's another thing that you need to know. You cannot have this active and you cannot have this active, okay? So don't do that mistake. You only need to have one single application running at a time. So I'm going to be closing this and quit iFacialMocap panel. I will not be listening to that right now. Now that that's being closed, the port, this port right here, it's open again just to listen between the Android and the FaceMocap to VMC. Again, all of these settings right here are going to be driving your application. So how do we know if this is working or not? We need to click here on Show 3D Face. And right now I'm going to be blurring my screen so you can actually see something moving other than my hand. But if you have your face right here being tracked on the phone, just make sure that this is set to iFacialMocap if you're going to be transmitting to Blender, obviously, or VTube Studio if you're going to be transmitting to VCFace. Anyways, just iFacialMocap because that's our target. Our target port is this one. And once I click connect, you're going to see that this face is going to be moving. Okay, these are actual my these are actual my facial expressions, like left to right, and movements of the head and the neck will not be tracked. So make sure that you only track your eyes, your mouth, and everything that you are seeing right here. It's being transmitted also to the parameters on the web page. So if I click here on the web page, you can see that the parameters are actually moving and doing all of its things, like brow outer up, eye blink. Let's scroll down to something else like cheek puff, eye squint. You can see that all of these things are really moving, so they are all tracking correctly. And please don't forget that if you do not see this active or do not see this face after clicking show 3D face right here, you need to do the UDTP public package firewall setup that I presented on the beginning of this video. You really need to make sure that all of your packages are being sent publicly, okay? With that context, you need to unblock and authorize all of the public connections for the UDP packages, specifically for FaceMocap to VMC and also for iFacialMocap, okay? Okay, so now let's put this entire knowledge into practice. Let's say that you already have created a model. That model has a face, and this face has different blend shapes. All the 52 required blend shapes from the ARKit from Apple to recognize, face tracking. So all of these shapes that you have right here create different things. For example, this jaw left could move right there, jaw right, 0. This has been posed so that you can see the different parameters, okay? So no problem there. So for example, jaw open, it will open the jaw, but this is a blend shape, okay? This has been all created using Faceit. This is just for demonstration examples. So let me just continue to reset all of these other values, because okay, so let's imagine that you already have created your characters. It contains the 52 ARKit blend shapes required with the exact naming that you see right here, and also on the list that I have previously shown you on the document. Please read the description on the video, please, so that you can see where the document is and all of the steps that we took on Faceit so that we can generate this face. Okay, so now that everything is there, let's just activate the iFacialMocap 2 software. Okay, we previously mentioned that Subidriel application worked with MeowFace, but now we have MeowFace active on the phone, and now let's type that exact same address here. So in my case, it's going to be this one right here. Next thing I want you to configure is the face object's name. You need to locate the exact mesh that contains the face. In my case, it's called Catboy Body, which is this one. So I'm going to be copying that because that is what contains all of the blend shapes. This is why I always recommend doing a mask, just a mask, so the facial object is separated from the body. Okay, but we'll get into that kind of details later on in the series. So I'm going to be pasting that. Very good. Now the head bone, it needs to locate the exact name in which you have the bone driving this character. So let's click here. Let's go into edit mode, and we're going to click on the facial bone, or rather the head bone, which is this one right here. I'm going to press F2, and that will give me the exact name. In my case, it's called Spine 06. So let's just type that in here for the head bone. The head bone is going to be called Spine 06. Thank you so much if you have been staying here for this part of the video. I know it has been kind of long, but it needs to be addressed in a step-by-step, as I always mention. Don't rush into these things, because these are important steps for your creations to work correctly. Again, I'm going to be selecting the I, F2, and this is going to be called IR. So Control C to copy that. And the right eye bone is going to be called right here. Just highlight that thing, and sorry, my mouse is still glitchy. Control V, and again for the left eye bone, we're going to also type the same thing, but obviously with the L. And armature is the name of your, obviously, armature. So my armature is this name. It's the name of the rig, basically. So we're working with 2.9x. Don't forget about that. Just click on the version info. Make sure that it's 1.09 and that you're working with Blender 293.9, which is the latest release for this application. Let's go back to object mode and let's go back into solid view. And let's just hide our armature for the moment. Press 1 so that we can have the front orthographic. Finally, now that we have connected everything in the iFacialMocap like this, we're ready to connect to Blender. So we have the iPhone address, we have the body mesh that has the facial shapes, we have the head bone named, the right eye, the left eye, and the armature as well. So let's just Control A over here, click here on the iFacialMocap panel, and then finally connect it to Blender. Don't forget that you need to have active MeowFace on your iPhone. I'm sorry, on your Android. And just like that, it's now working, and you can see my face is moving left and right. I am blinking and doing other things. Right now I'm recording, so that's why you see glitching here and there, but this basically means that it's working okay with all of the expressions that I'm doing, and you can test your avatar. I am positive that your feedback is going to be much better than mine since I am recording this screen, but right now this is all you need to do to make your avatar work, and this is how you test your avatar or your Android setup with PC and your Blender interface to animate and obviously record and facial capture inside Blender using iFacialMocap. Thank you very much.